Hi everyone, welcome to day 6 of the holiday card series for 2018. Today I'm going to be making a card that I haven't done anything like this in a while. I'm going to be using patterned paper. I know, that's crazy, right? I used to do a lot of cards with patterned paper back in the day, a few years ago, and then I really got into this trend of like, I'm just going to stamp my patterns, I'm going to make a background myself. But using patterned paper is a great way to get a good color combination without having to think too hard. So I'm going to be using a 6x6, or actually it's a 6.5 by 6.5 paper pack by Kaiser. When I filmed this video, I checked and it was kind of out of stock everywhere. So I'm going to make sure that I give you some tips on how to take patterned paper and different patterns from other packs out there and incorporate them into a similar design. So I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into it.
So this is the pattern paper pad from Kaiser. It's called Wonderland, and it has a nice sort of muted color palette with blues and greens and navies and some grays. I really am loving this color palette. So I'm picking out a couple different sheets. I've got this kind of wood grain panel and then also one with trees. So I'm going to prep my card base first. So I've got some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 110-pound cardstock, and I've scored that at 5.5 to create a top folding card. Now I'm taking that wood panel pattern paper, and I wanted it at a diagonal, so I'm going to be cutting it at kind of a triangle off the corner, and then I can use that new straight edge to cut out a rectangle shape for my card front. Eventually I will trim this down to be a little bit more narrow, but this is how I initially got the diagonal pattern. So for the bulk of this card design, I'm going to be using the images and elements from this piece of pattern paper, which has lots of trees and kind of little pine sprigs or little things like that. And I'm going to be fussy cutting around each one of these. So as far as what you would do for this design if you don't have this pattern paper, look for pattern paper that has little elements like this that you can cut out. If it's a Christmas paper, maybe it's presents or ornaments or things like that. You just want a bunch of elements that you can cluster together on your card. Now I'm using this embossing folder from Sizzix, and I'm putting in just the front panel of my card. And then as far as the sandwich goes that goes into my cutting machine, I'm using the multi-purpose platform that came with it, one cutting pad, and then I'm putting my embossing folder on top. And that seems to be the perfect thickness to get this cool impressioned texture on my cardstock without it cracking. So this is one of those embossing folders that's kind of like three-dimensional. So you get some really softed, kind of bumpy patterned. It's a really cool snowflake pattern. So like I said before, I did cut down that piece of wood panel pattern paper so it was more narrow. And then I put some foam adhesive on the back. And I was not shy with the foam adhesive because this is just paper. It's not a thick cardstock, so it needs a little bit more substantial foam behind it to hold up. So I'm going to arrange all of these trees on my card here. And I'm just getting an idea of how I can place them. This is not the final placement or where things will go. I just wanted an idea of where all of these would be, just in case I needed to cut out a few more trees. So now I'm taking some kind of more of the aqua shade colored pattern paper from that pack. Has a little bit of a texture on it. And I'm going to use the Tiny Words Holiday Stamp Set from Simon and stamp a very small greeting strip that will slide behind all of those trees. I've prepped my pattern paper with an anti-static powder tool since I will be embossing, and then I'm using some Versamark ink to stamp my sentiment, and I just barely press that sentiment down. When it comes to using tiny itty-bitty word stamps like that, you just want to think about the stamp just barely kissing your paper. That'll keep it nice and thin so that you don't get any blobby letters. I put some white embossing powder on top, set it with the heat tool, and then cut down that strip so it was nice and narrow and could go right behind these trees. So I got these kind of all arranged again and moved things around so that I could get my sentiment strip in there perfectly. Then I put some tape adhesive on one end where it's going to go over that wood panel pattern paper, and then I put a little tiny bit of foam tape on the other side that's going to hang off the end. And I'm doing this because that paneled pattern paper has foam behind it. So if I was to just put the sentiment greeting on top, it would not be the same level and things wouldn't stay straight. So now I've put some foam adhesive behind all the trees, and I'm placing them on one by one, kind of getting a nice group here. If you can hear my cat freaking out in the background, I'm so sorry. Daphne, hi honey. She's freaking out. I don't know what it is. I think she can hear me talking. She thinks I'm talking to her. Hi, Daph. Hi, honey. I'm not sure if you can hear her or not, but anyway. In the pack of pattern paper, it actually has some die cuts, which I think is kind of interesting. There's not a lot of paper packs like this out there. And I wanted to use this circular printed greeting piece here. And it was kind of an afterthought, and I wanted it to go behind this area here. So I had to cut off those two corners so it would fit. And then I put some tape runner adhesive right behind it, and then I was able to slide it behind these two foam pieces. So that pretty much finishes up the card. I really love how this arrangement turned out and how the cluster of images all go together.
I really love the soft color palette of this particular card. I'm really digging back those navies and kind of dusty aquas this year. I've used them quite a bit so far in the holiday card series. I hope you guys have enjoyed. So before you guys go, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you will be notified when I upload a video. On screen, I've got 2 more cards for you guys to check out. These are the Day 6 cards from the holiday card series for the years 2017 and 2016. And if you want to go even farther back into history, I've got the complete list of Day 6 videos for the rest of the holiday card series listed down below in the video description. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for stopping by and tuning in. I will see you guys very soon for Day 7.